This is Tom Fox. The Hill Country Podcast was recently honored with the 2022 Communicator Award for Distinction for Society and Culture, as well as Lifestyles for Podcasters. Today, Leah Oliver on Hair as Canvas.
The Texas Hill Country is one of the most beautiful places on earth. In this podcast, recent Hill Country resident Tom Fox visits with the people and organizations that make this one of the most unique areas of Texas. Join Tom as he explores the people, places, and their activities of the Texas Hill Country.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Hill Country Podcast. And today we're back at Starbucks for our virtual cup of coffee. And I have my hairstylist, Leah Mackenzie Oliver. She has a great story, and I asked her if she would take some time on her day off to come visit with me, and she graciously agreed to. So first of all, thanks so much for stopping in for the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up first in Dallas for about 7 years. And then my family picked up and moved to north of San Antonio to Spring Branch, Bulverde area. And then we've been around that area in the Canyon Lake as well. And then I am now currently living in Kerrville.
So you are a hairstylist.
I am.
What got you into that business?
So I had a lot of things that I was interested in doing growing up, but in terms of, I guess, realistic or sustainable jobs, I found that was at the top of the list. And I'm also very, I would say, artsy, so I could definitely incorporate that a lot into that business. So that's some of the reason why I chose to do hair.
So did you have to go to school to get a certification or a degree?
I did. I went to Paul Mitchell, the school in San Antonio.
And then I met you because, number one, you're my wife's stylist. But number two, you also work here in Kerrville at Pop Hair Art. And I had the chance to talk to Michelle, and she told me about her mentor program.
Yes.
Of which you participated in. So tell me about the mentor program, how you found out about it, what you kind of went through, and really what it meant for you in your career.
So Michelle introduced herself back in Paul Mitchell, which is where I was in school at, and I fell in love with what her culture was about. Her energy was amazing. So when it came time that I finished up with school, I reached out to her over social media, and she was one of the only person who cared to get to know me before actually meeting me in person or trying to offer me a job. So that really intrigued me. So we met for the first time in Kerrville when I went and shadowed for about 8 hours that day. And yeah, I really liked the space and the energy, and of course the coworkers.
So how long were you in that program with her? Was it just the 8 hours, or was it some additional time?
No, that associate program is about 7 months long.
So were you working with her in the studio in Kerrville?
Yes, so I was there around 8 hours a day throughout the week for 7 months, and I would work alongside of her first. I forget for how many months, and then we had an opportunity day where I would take my own clients. And that's where I started to build my clientele, were on those opportunity days working alongside of her.
And you said that program lasted, I think, for 7 months?
Yes.
And what happened after the end of the 7 months?
After the 7 months, you're technically put on the floor as a level 1 stylist, and it's a full commission instead of hourly.
And you have gone above a level 1 stylist now, as I recall.
Yes, I am now at a level 4 with about a year's worth of working there in my own so not out of an associate, about a year I've been promoted up to level 4.
So have there been other people go through the mentor program after you did?
Yes, there's been, I think, 2 or 3.
What was some of the things that the mentor program either helped you with or brought to you for your own professional career?
I think it's helped me the most when it comes to how to socialize, I guess. You learn a lot more of how to talk with people, how to interact, get to know them. That's been a big help.
So you probably don't know this about me, but I actually grew up in a salon because my grandparents had a salon. And when I was little, I lived with them. And so I was the little worker boy. And I swept up and brought the towels out and did things like that. So recognizing salon work was probably a little bit different back then. When we had the big hair dryers, and we would sit under them for an hour or so. But the one thing that I remember from that experience was it wasn't that it was nonstop chatter, but there was always a conversation going on. And that you could, be a part of the conversation, you could listen to the conversation, but there's always communication and conversation going on. Does that hold true for pop hair art now?
Yes. I think communicating is one of our highest qualities there. We want to get to know our clients well and have that relationship going. It's not just about doing hair.
So I've been in to the salon, and I think you characterized Michelle as high energy, and I would certainly agree with that. But she does seem to have endless amounts of energy. Would that kind of be fair?
I definitely admire it because I naturally do not have that much energy. And I am only 22 years old. Yeah, I don't know how she does the work she does, I guess. It amazes me what she can do.
So when, first of all, I would say you're still a newlywed, maybe not, but when did you get married?
We got married on March 20th of 2021.
So you have a great wedding story and you have a great engagement story. So first of all, I guess we should ask, what's the name of your husband?
Jared Spring.
And where did Jared propose to you?
He ended up proposing to me up at the open cross at the entrance of Kerrville.
So for those who don't know, it is probably a 40-foot cross that sits on this hill that overlooks the city as you come into Kerrville from San Antonio. It's a spectacular setting, and how romantic was that?
It was pretty romantic. Chilly out there that time of year, but it was romantic.
But you also got married in a pretty unique place.
Yes, we got married out at Big Bend National Park.
So how many folks came out for your wedding?
I think it was around 40, which, we may not disclose with the park because it wasn't allowed back then, but yeah, it was about 40.
So that's pretty unique as well. One of the things that I also wanted to visit with you about is you have other interest in art besides hair art.
Yes.
So tell us about your painting.
I paint a quite wide variety of things, from oil painting to mixed media, where I'll incorporate newspaper cutouts and I'll paint over it, or I'll paint on fabrics, old wine bottles, pieces of wood, or just many clothing items.
So where did the painting gene come from?
My dad and his side of the family is very art oriented as well. They own their own building company, and they grew up, doing architecture and drawing themselves. So,
is there any particular type of painting that you enjoy more than the others, or you really just enjoy them all?
I probably enjoy them all. I like variety of things, so I can't just sit and do one type of painting.
Have you had any shows or just any of your works displayed anywhere?
I did back in high school. There would be art shows put on there, and I'd have a handful of my art displayed.
And you have some displayed here in Kerrville, I know of.
I do. I will put some of them up in the hair salon, and I was about to go check out the local art galleries to see what they do. I was going to do that later today, actually. So yeah, I'm trying to get my art more out there in Kerrville.
So I didn't ask, when did you guys move to Kerrville?
Well, I moved out here first, I think back in October of 2020. I've been out here for almost 2 years now. So, and then Jared moved out once we got married, so he's been here about a year less than I have.
So what's Kerrville like for some 20-somethings?
You mean like for 20-year-olds?
Yeah.
It's not much, but it is peaceful, which I much enjoy. I prefer to go out and take a walk than, I don't know, drive around a city. So it's good if you prefer the more peaceful, calm living space.
So where do you like to walk?
I like to walk down at the Lewis Hayes Park because we live right next to there. So that's probably our number one walking place.
Have you guys done any hiking around either Kerrville or around outside of the town?
Outside, yes. We're big hikers. We'll go up to Inks Lake, Enchanted, Lost Maples, probably the most.
So where do you hope to go with, let's start with your hairstyling career. Are you going to kind of keep doing what you're doing, practicing your craft, and just grow your clientele and see where it goes?
Yeah, I definitely want to stick within the hair business for a hand while longer. But I think, I feel like my path is going a little bit more in the art painting direction than it is hair. I'm not sure when, but I think I would like to open some kind of art studio where I can teach art classes and incorporate that in maybe the summer times. But that's been a more recent thought. But for now, definitely learning the craft and art behind doing hair is still my biggest priority.
So in terms of the painting and perhaps branching out a little bit, do you think you'll continue with a wide variety of art as opposed to maybe specializing, or do you see yourself really drilling down into one and becoming a true specialist in one area?
That's a difficult question because I like variety, but I think I will choose to specialize. I mean, like, I will try to specialize in whatever I'm doing as much as I can, and then once I feel like I've done a pretty good job at it, I'll learn a new skill. Yeah, so hair is another canvas, and I feel like I'm mastering that. In art, it's just painting. It's kind of always been something I've naturally grasped onto pretty well. So I feel like if I were to do like an art studio, that would be a new specialty of its own, reaching out to people and teaching them.
So you get a special award on this podcast if you say the title of the podcast in your remarks. Hair is just another canvas.
Yes.
That is great. That's
Yes.
going to be our title for this podcast. So
Awesome.
Kudos. You get an extra gold star. So tell everyone where you work in case they wanted to get in touch with you or find out more about where you do hairstyling.
So I work at Pop Hair Art out in Kerrville.
Pop Hair Art. They have a Facebook page, they have a website, and they have a phone number. We're going to put all of that in the show notes. Leah, thank you for taking the time to visit with me. I've been wanting to do this a while and having the chance to get to know you a little better.
Well, thank you for having me, Tom. I'm glad you got to get to know me, and so does everyone else.
I love telling stories, and the Hill Country Podcast is designed to do just that. If you have a story you'd like to tell, I'd love to sit down and visit with you. Please contact me at tfox@tfoxlaw.com, and I'll sit down and visit with you for an episode of the Hill Country Podcast. The Hill Country Podcast is designed to tell the people, places, and things that make this the most unique part of Texas. The Hill Country Podcast is a production of Compliance Podcast Network.